And welcome everybody to this week's KubeVirt community meeting. It is the 19th of February 2025. I hope you're all doing well. Let me just post the minutes into chat. Okay. All right, is there anyone here that is new to the meeting or might not be new to the meeting but hasn't taken the opportunity to introduce themselves and would like to do so now? Fair enough. In which case, we will move along. Let's have a quick look at the schedule. So the version 1.5 release is still scheduled for the 5th of March. We had our feature freeze last week, and we should be having our RCO today. Who's handling that release? Is it Lubo? Is it back on you?
Hello, yes, sir. That will be me.
Over you. RCO, is that out yet, or is that happening later?
It's going to happen later. Hopefully,
Okay.
It's going to be smooth.
As always, thank you. I muted myself. And we've got some CFPs to have a quick look at. Oh, this is old news. So if you wanted to go to submit for Open Source Summit North America, hopefully you already did. Next up, we have KubeCon Cloud Native Con India, which will be in August. That CFP is open until March 23rd. Can anyone else hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel, I think it's you. And Container Days, which is in Germany on March 31st. We also have some appearances coming up next month, Maintainer Summit and KubeCon Cloud Native Con Europe 2025, and one which has finally been posted, but let me grab the link, but I haven't been able to add it here yet, is StackConf. Daniel will be speaking there. Doing, I think, an updated version of his FOSDEM talk, or maybe it's entirely new. And you can't hear him because he's having problems with his audio. So if there are no questions on any of that, we will truck along. Next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, actually, I should cancel this meeting because I think we're actually using this Zoom line. I've just sent out a reminder email. Next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be running the KubeVirt version 1.6 unconference. So for those that weren't in attendance at the last one, basically, this is an opportunity for us to come together and to talk about potential beefs we have, improvements to process, issues that we're hoping that we can get some traction on, and also to talk about potential like wild ideas, features, and also for the SIGs, which got here, to run some feature prioritization sessions. Basically, where are we going to focus our attention, because we can't cover everything. More specifically for version 1.6, and that is a way to broadcast to the community at large. Hey, these are the features that we're most working on for this development cycle, but also when it comes down to reviewer and approver attention, what's going to kind of get attention and what'll be potentially more when time becomes available. If that link there, this one, goes to the day one, room one, it's HedgeDoc instance. If you please start adding your topics, it'd be really good. What we'll do it's a bit new this time, is that on day one, we'll all go into the one room. There are 3 rooms, and we'll quickly look at the topics. We'll run a vote, and then we'll start throwing them into the rooms, and we'll see how that goes. And then day 2 will basically be a repeat. So anything that doesn't get covered, and as topics, as last year we had topics that came up throughout the discussions, and so they can then get added into the day 2 sheet. And we'll basically run the same process. The first 15 minutes of the unconference will be dedicated to figuring out what are we going to talk about today. And we'll probably do we'll do that maybe twice each of the days, just to kind of like roll through and make sure that all the topics there make sense, and et cetera, et cetera. Does anyone have any questions about the unconference? And while you reach for the mic, I'll just reiterate what Vladik said. This is also the time that we're going to be switching from our design proposal process into the new enhancements process. Wow, that came up quick. Title aside, oh, actually, no, have we got? I don't have it here. Vladik, did you see David Vossel's design proposal?
I'll find it. Just a sec.
Only because I think Federico, if memory serves, pointed out that it probably makes sense for him to be putting that into the new vet process. And it was a question of whether or not we were actually doing that. While you go and find it, I'll move along. All right, does anyone have any other questions or comments about the unconference next week? There we go. So I did mean to add this to the mailing list, because it's our new design proposal for the week. Setting eviction strategy to work with no pressure eviction. It was Federico. And is that fair enough? Did you want to, or are you able to weigh in on this? Seems like before any discussion happens here, it makes sense if we can move it onto the other process, so it doesn't have to move mid discussion.
Sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry.
Just most of this comment here.
Yeah.
Yeah, does it make sense to move this now before any discussion happens, so that it doesn't then get?
So I think we tried it out. We've seen that. Generally, Aurel already went through this process once with his proposal. I think it's about time to switch to the second stage, and that's what we were planning. That 1.6 will be the time that we'll move to beta and start following that process. Lubo, I don't know. What do you think? It's probably not here.
Sorry, I wasn't near the mic. I think we should move to it. But firstly, we need to do a review of how it went with the proposals we merged and implement the improvements, I think. But yeah, that's my opinion.
There was only one. So I don't know, what do you want to review? I mean, we can definitely talk about this.
But I do have a feedback there, so I think we can improve that. But I don't think we are going to, block the design just because we are, adjusting the process. So I think it's a safe place to do it.
Yeah, the idea is that in 1.6 we'll be able to present some kind of a list of features that we are committing to release by the end of the process, by the end of the development cycle. So I think those that we intend to actually work on, and then fully provide resources for reviewing these, and then provide resources for reviewing the code as well. And then we need some kind of a commitment. I mean, if we're not ready for this, then we shouldn't do it.
Do we have at least one reason why not to do it? Lubo, you have some negative feedback regarding the new process?
I wouldn't call it negative, but I think it's definitely can be improved. It's not worse than the old one. Let me put it this way.
Could you please elaborate what is not okay with the current process? Like what was wrong with the enhancement that was urged?
Well, I thought this could be a good topic for unconference actually, but so I'm not sure if we want to discuss it here. But, yeah.
Give us a hint.
So, for example, I see that a feature kind of went in, but not as a whole. At the same time, it's targeted as GA. So somehow we are in the state where it's not done and it's not measured at all. And at the same time, still we don't have this like overview which we wanted to gain with this new proposal. Like, I don't know what kind of PRs went in, what kind of PRs didn't went in, where we are with stocks for this for this. So yeah.
Aurel, did you have a tracker open for this proposal?
Yes, there is a tracker in the web repository, but other than having it there, I don't know what its purpose is, to be honest.
I mean, in general, yeah, the moment we'll have more of these, we'll be able to commit to these features. So, I mean, the idea was that once accepted, I mean, we will be able to go through all of these trackers, see which PRs are associated, and then I mean, people would need to focus their attention to these accepted PRs. To these accepted enhancements, and hence kind of pay more attention to these PRs. So we need to generate some kind of a list of PRs that need attention and constantly track them because we are going to commit to these. And obviously 1.5, I mean, it doesn't mean that if you, yeah.
So one way of doing that would be using the projects board in enhancements.
It should be in the issues. There is one issue.
The problem is that right now we have two different processes.
Mm.
And I don't see how without switching we will be able to achieve any of this.
I think, yeah, Lubo's right. This is probably a good thing to talk about at the unconference. Just one dumb question. Is it elementary to move, for instance, David's created this new design proposal. Are we able to move the whole thing holus bolus between repos, or does it have to be recreated?
Yeah, I can transfer them probably.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay. So that part of mechanically is elementary. Sick.
I'm sorry, for issues I can transfer issues, but maybe the PR wouldn't make sense to transfer because the PR would be against a different repo.
No, of course.
I had a question regarding the new process. So if we are shooting to try this new process in 1.6, what kind of communication should um, developers look out for? For example, we're talking about getting a list of features that we are committing for a release. What is the process of making it to that list? When will we commit that list? All of those communications, I just wanted to keep on top of those things for specifically for the DRA feature. So to summarize, my question is, where is there a place where we'll communicate all the timelines to the community?
So I think it's right there. I mean, right there in the process. And then this is the main repo where, I mean, this should become the main repo where all the enhancements that we are considering for a specific release will be placed. And then part of the consideration is that besides everybody agreeing on the design, is also should be another condition saying that yes, we have the resources to implement this in that specific release. So for 1.5, we didn't have that. I mean, we didn't start in 1.4 to kind of introduce issues and then review them on time, and then also write the code until the feature freeze. So that's why like 1.5 was kind of just experimental.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think what I'm looking for is, so for 1.6, if I am interested to take a feature and drive it through this process, what is the timeline I should follow? First, to raise that PR, then to make sure that the design is approved, and I have the necessary resources to fund that feature, right? So those are the specific timeline related questions I was wondering about.
So I think it's important to say for which release are you aiming to implement this design, because it could be accepted, but not for the current release or some, for example, like this. It could be accepted for 1.7, and then the implementation needs to follow for 1.7 as well.
Yeah, I think for now I'm talking about 1.6.
For 1.6, yeah, currently we didn't agree on the design yet.
No, I mean, that's my question, right? So if I want to make it to 1.6, what would be the timeline of, getting agreement on the design, getting the resources funded for code and review processes and things like that? So I guess my question about this process is, let's say if somebody is interested in taking a feature for 1.6, where should they go to look at the timeline for all of those things?
So if I remember correctly, we were saying that the deadline for accepting features for 1.6 would be the kind of the time for alpha of 1.5. And please correct me if I'm wrong. If
I'm sorry, Vladik, I'm confused. When you say alpha of 1.5, in the sense that when a release is cut for 1.5, like.
Yeah, so for example, if you have a design that is currently under review and you want that design to be implemented in the next version, so I think the discussions about that specific design should end somewhere around the unconference or the rollout of the alpha release of the previous. So, for example, if you're aiming for 1.6, the design should be approved and accepted for by this timeline. So by the release of the alpha of 1.5. So you will have enough time to actually implement that feature.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to tell Radik that if you go back now in a retro, this means we will take every feature that we even think about, it will take a year. Maybe half. That's not practical in sense of I don't understand how this can work. I mean, it's too far.
Well, we release every 4 months, right?
Yes. So it means that you need to start if someone gives you a requirement, you need to process the requirement and put it in the queue. Then take it out of the queue because you have many stuff like that. You need to take it from the queue and say, okay, let's work on it. And that needs to happen half a year before, even more than half a year. I don't know. We need to think how it works, but around half a year before, you need to have already start working on it.
But this is the end of the. So this is the deadline, right? If you are able to present a design, merge it, and provide the code for it, then nothing stops you from
earlier.
No,
doing it earlier.
what do you mean earlier? What you are saying is that it will take me 5 months, around 5 months. I need to close the design to have a agreement on the design 5 months before the target release that I want. This is what it means alpha of a previous version compared to the next one. So you see this what it means to me, and I'm rounding it a little bit. It says someone says I want, please give me feature A, and I need to tell him, okay, you can get feature A after 6 months. Doesn't matter what is the feature almost. If the feature takes,
I hear what you're saying, Eddie, but right now we have a free for all. The feature freeze this last week was a disaster. I mean, there was so much stuff at the last second. So no is not a good answer, but we need a compromise here. What is your suggestion then? If 6 months is too long?
No, I'm raising a problem. I mean, for me, it sounds problematic in general. Like even if someone asks me for a feature and I'm telling him you can get it even in 3 months, it will take me 3 months to give it to you. Even that, it's a lot. Like if I think about agility, so I want to give him it in around 3 months if the feature is really, really important and I want to support
But
him.
we are releasing every 4 months, Eddie.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. So again, someone comes in with a request. What the timelines that are set here for me, it says that it will take me 6 months to give it to him. That's what it means.
It doesn't have to be 6 months. I mean, the 6 months is the maximum,
Worst
right?
case.
Why?
Worst
How
case.
can you make it shorter? For example, now I want to give someone a feature in 1.6. Okay. Well, how do I do that now? Because you said that I needed to finish the agreement of the design in alpha of 1.5. I cannot even start now. There is no point to start now.
You can submit a feature. I mean, nobody says that you're not able to submit it. If it's get in for, so we had this cut for alpha for 1.6, sorry, for 1.5. Now you can submit a feature for 1.6 and it's up to you. I mean, if it's getting accepted and the discussions ends before the release of of the alpha of 1.6, then great. I mean, if you can submit your code and it will be released in that current release. So all you need to wait is 4 months
Okay,
not
so
safe.
that's now that's like you made it a little bit. I didn't understand. I thought that you want it to be closed
No,
in
this
the
is the
alpha of the
deadline.
previous one.
This is the maximum amount of time that it should take.
Ah, okay. So what do you mean maximum? If it means that if it's more than that, then what?
If it's more than that, it will just push to the next release.
Mm.
Is this
Okay,
also
so
a question of prioritization? It's that, we sit down, we decide these are the things that are going to be prioritized, but that's not necessarily stopping another proposal coming in, being accepted during the development cycle. And if the will is there, then it could still be merged in the same development cycle, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're committing to providing the code and being able to merge this feature before we cut the release, before the feature freeze, not the same day of the feature freeze, but before.
okay, so again, the timeline is that until the alpha, the alpha tag of the current version, for example, in 1.6, if I manage to get acceptance for a proposal for the enhancement until the alpha, then that has the potential to get in 1.6 if I reach the feature freeze in time with the
Yes.
implementation. Okay.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the release schedule, I'm seeing the alpha date for 1.5 as December 18th last year. That was when the first Alpha 0 was released for 1.5.
No, we just cut. We just had a feature freeze.
Yeah, but alpha is before feature freeze. So alpha is somewhere after Kubernetes release. Then we have a beta before feature freeze. Then we have a feature freeze, and we have release candidate 0, 1, and then GA.
Okay, then release candidate. I mean the period of time that we had the feature freeze, and then we had unconference, and then after unconference, there is the release candidate. So I'm talking about that period of time between the feature freeze and the release. So there will be some time maybe to do fine tuning, last fine tuning at the unconference, and if it goes in before the release candidate, then this is something that can be considered for the next release. But this is the end time.
Right. So we'll call it like design freeze or web freeze, something like that.
Yeah.
And all the webs that need to be committed should go in before that. Okay. So I think if we were to try this out for 1.6, I would expect that we communicate the exact freeze timeline to the community. So if someone is trying to shoot for a feature, they can be ready for it and they can ask for reviews. So if we can decide on a date for Web3 for 1.6, I think that will be very helpful if we want to try it out.
So I mean, from my point of view, the release candidate of 1.5, this should be the.
But I mean, that's today, right?
Correct. Yeah. First.
So then we need some kind of a time after the unconference. I mean, we need a fine tuning. I think we need the fine tuning on during the unconference and then freeze.
So let's consider it from different point of view. So if we would saying that in the release you are targeting, you have a time until the alpha, it would give you roughly 2 months to implement the design. So the question is it enough for the improvers, maintainers to get the design on alpha and having a 2 months to commit, or 2 months to pick and commit where they have the bandwidth, right? So this would allow you to have or collect requirements in the release of 1.6, presumably 1 month, first month of the release. And then you have like 2 months for development, and then we have 1 month for, stabilizing the release and releasing.
Yeah, I mean, at one point we'll have to adjust whether we're accepting this specific feature. That, I mean, if the design has been accepted, but the code is not there and not ready, then we should be able to push it to next release. Right, the same thing.
Yeah, of course. Like I think approver of or approving a design doesn't really says or commit us that the code will be shipped. Like it's many external factors we cannot control.
So I think to answer the original question, will that timeline be enough? So the way I'm thinking about it is that it will be a cyclical process. So 2 months for development, and then by the time community is stabilizing the release the next month, people who are not involved in the release process will have to go back to their design boards and start working on the next set of webs, and that will give time to start preparing the code. You don't necessarily need to wait for the design to go through to begin POCing or getting some kind of coding framework out there. And then once the design is there, from there it will be 2 months to complete and review and merge.
To complete for that release, but I mean, you have all the time. If you feel that you're not able to complete it for that specific release, then you can just update the target. And
so I think that will be in contradiction with our goals of committing to features for that release, right? So the success of this process would depend on how much features we commit and how much features we deliver. If 90% of our features slip through to the next release, then we are not really committing thoughtfully.
No, I mean, there should be some kind of a pool of features that people should pay more attention for reviewing. I mean, if you are at some point feel that it's not going to make it, you don't have the time, it doesn't converge, so it will have to be pushed back to the next release, so people will still be able to focus more on the features that are going to make it.
Yeah, I understand that part, but what I'm trying to say is, let's say we say that we are going to commit 10 features, right? We should design the process in a way that there is a chance of 8 to 9 features out of this 10 to make it, not the other way around. Like if we are committing 10 and if we are only we are making one feature to that release, then there is something wrong in the process that we need to rework.
I think there is a difference here. So like the commitment is not about like I cannot commit that you will deliver the feature, right? I can commit my time to review. So I think you are right that the metric of how many proposals we in the end gets through is important. It's not a crucial metric. It's more about how many of those PRs didn't get through because our time wasn't actually allocated. Does it make sense?
So I think we are saying that we are committing review cycles via this process. But if the owner of the web is not able to make the coding, then that's a separate discussion. Okay, I think that makes sense.
Ale, just in general, I mean, right now we're saying that there are not enough reviewers, there are not enough approvers, there are not enough resources. People are committing code and it's just rotting there. So this process is about trying to focus the community on what is essential for that specific release. Where do we need to spend our time? What do we need to review?
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so
And
I was seeing it holistically as that in a release, there are owners of the webs and the reviewers of the webs, and both need to be on the same page that this web will go through. That was the lens I was seeing it from, but with that context, it makes sense.
Can I ask how much time after the GA of one of these someone has time to until the freeze of the design?
So if you would go with the alpha, so the deadline is alpha of the release, then we would have approximately 1 month after the previous GA, right?
Okay, thank you. So, and you think, and based on the experience so far, do you think design proposal are closed in 1 month? I don't know. I mean, asking if it's something small, usually yes, but if it's just a little bit more than small, it's challenging.
Absolutely. So for me, I would rather review those data because those are publicly available when the proposals were created, when they were approved. But I think if we have a three months of development cycle, we need to somehow set the ratio for the proposals and development. And the question is if 1 month for enhancements and 2 months for development is enough, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like, because in practice, I'm not sure about all SIGs, but most SIGs will concentrate in the end on stabilization, and we will be lucky if we'll have time to start working on the next design until that is over. It's like you are in a rush.
That would be preferable.
Yeah. But again, it's like usually we are pushed to the corner to start to do the stabilization first. Anyway, it looks like it needs to be. I mean, for me, 1 month sounds very tight. So it means that I need to ask to work on a proposal like maybe during the period of stabilization of the previous version. Otherwise, there is no chance.
But do we assume that during the stabilization, the whole team is, dedicated to stabilization? I don't think so. I think it's something wrong, really wrong, if we need to dedicate all the resources to only stabilization.
Well, USA, it's like depends on the numbers. Yeah, you have 5 people, you have 2 people, you have 10 people. That depends, right?
So I think
Yeah, absolutely. But pardon, absolutely. But it's like natural control of the bandwidth, right? So like if you need to have a rather stabilize, then naturally you will be able to deliver less in the next release. And like I think you cannot just create more workforce or ultimately time as well.
But we can have some exceptions, right? For example, let's take David's Vossel design proposal. It will not get into 1.6, right? Because we are past the release candidate 0. So the design proposal, we can target it for 1.7, right? For example.
So,
but the design proposal can converge and can be merged while 1.6 is running, right? On 1.6 is ongoing. And a few issues will open and you will have a PR already ready. And you can tell, wait a second, the design proposal beta PR is ready, so we can just move at least the beta of the feature to 1.6 instead of just waiting till 1.7, right?
yeah, so I think we should be flexible in stating if something is alpha or entering as alpha or beta. I think that's fine. But just wanted to bear in mind there are two different options for this dedicating the enhancement freeze. One was the RC, which would be basically today or maybe in a week. The second option was that for 1.6, it would be alpha of 1.6, which would be in around a month after the GA. So we have around 2 months from now for finalizing the 1.6 enhancements, which I found fair. But it's the discussion, so let's fade in the pros and cons.
Yeah, I'm gonna just jump in there because we have a few more things to get through. We can draw the final line in the sand during the unconference next week. I look forward to continuing this discussion there. And let's also not forget that this will be an iterative phase. We can see what works, see what doesn't work so well, and then adapt it and mold it slightly as we move forward. Thanks for that. That was a long, but I think very necessary conversation about a very critical part of how we do things here. I just want to say we have applied for the Google Summer of Code 2025. We'll find out next week if we've been accepted. I think we put forward 4 projects in the end. There's also the Outreachy has its dates open at the moment. We might be able to secure funding for it. I've not participated in Outreachy before, and I don't think KubeVirt has, although it has tried in the past. If anyone with experience is around, is able to share, like, I guess, scope of projects, if anyone has interest in mentoring or an idea for a project, please reach out. The deadline is kind of soon. I think it's a week away. But yeah, we can see what we can see. I think the usual barrier with that is the funding aspect, because I think it's $7,000 we have to raise. But I think we might be okay with that. Please reach out to me on Slack or the mailing list. We have a couple of pull requests to look at, unless they've been. Okay, so this is a Buildify pre-built for S390X. A lot of files changed. Is there anyone who's able to take a look at that one? Is it? I do also wonder if this is still relevant, considering that we've changed the way that we label these and apply reviewers.
I guess, Jan, this would be a good one for you, is it? S390X?
Yeah, I've already had a meeting with Ramzi and Lakshmi about this.
Okay.
So
can I CC you there?
Yeah. So one problem we have with the Buildifier on S390X is we have exactly one upstream release where they included S390X binaries. So I needed to look it up, but apparently the support for S390 merged months ago, but the builds actual release builds somehow don't work. So they added one manually for 7.3.1, which this PR should update to. But yeah, so that's a bit of a problem if you want to build with Bazel on S390X right now in KubeVirt. But I can definitely leave a review here.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you. Keep hearing all these negative things about Bazel. We have another one.
If you can use this as a good reason to replace it, I'll even help.
You mean getting rid of Bazel?
I feel like that should be an unconference topic or something.
If you can
Yeah,
replace
I was
Bazel,
thinking
that
Does this fall under the same boat, Chan?
this one I would need to look up.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Hashita also works in our team, so
Okay.
I can take a look here as well.
Oh, what is yours?
I think, yeah, I have like this short name I got and then added the G since the IBM short name is only 7 characters.
Cool. Thank you. I've got this one. Oh, I think I saw it. Hey, you were here.
you can assign that to me.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, it's with a 0x in front.
You're popular enough that I can just write FE. There are some things from the mailing list that I wanted to bring some attention to. And Felix, you've got the Pi-hole one.
Yeah, so I think that's a spicy topic on a high level. This is about adding support for Windows XP or 2003 to KubeVirt. Yeah, so basically right now, if you want to run those OSs on Q35 machines, you need to add a PCI hole configuration to the delivered XML. And you can do it with Sidecar, that works. But under certain circumstances might not be favorable to enable the Sidecar feature gate. So I wanted to ask if somebody would be against adding an Opto VM spec to add a PCI hole configuration to the Leopard XML.
I mean, I know that for sure there will be pushback. I'm just not sure. I don't know. I mean, that's
I mean, we
very
don't
tricky.
have to label it as Windows XP support. Just add the configurable. Don't name it such.
Are you planning to add a new field? Is that it?
Yeah, right.
So what is the problem with Sidecar? I don't get it. It's like a very, very edge, super edge case. So why should we invest in this?
Sidecars have their problem. I mean, they're behind the feature gate, and they might allow you to run any arbitrary code in the context of the word launcher. So it's like opening a big hole to do this little modification.
So do you think that anyone would run Windows XP in production? No, just out of curiosity.
It's an upstream meeting. It's an upstream meeting, but we have customers requesting that, yes.
That's wild.
Yeah.
No,
that's
so
fine.
it's just about the amount. Like if you have potential users that, I mean, you have a lot of potential users for this, then that's a valid request, I guess. But if it's for one specific one case user, then it's not valid. So this is the difference, I guess.
I would, instead of a configuration field, I would rather add some kind of a logic that would identify that this is what's required.
I mean,
You
how
know,
would you
hold
do
up.
that?
We just made the argument that sidecar containers are not a valid approach because of opening the floodgates. An alternative is to have the suggestion that we have approved containers that you could run as a sidecar named in your KubeVirt config so that you would know certain specific pre-approved things can be done. And then you've got a general mechanism that doesn't need core KubeVirt logic.
That's not our plugins all over again.
We love plugins.
Not saying it's not, but we're either going to put it into core KubeVirt or we're going to make a way that an admin can have pre-approved things that they created.
I like the latter one more than the first.
I'm actually not sure which is the first or second, Luba.
Any further comments to the mailing list? We have a couple of things to get through and only a couple of minutes. So we'll race through these. Idemar sent through this, moving cgroup volume 1, version 1 to support maintenance mode. This is following Kubernetes. Concerns, objections? Is anyone using it? He's also asked, where's the right place to announce this?
The mailing list.
Right here. Okay, we've got, so this I believe is a question that has fallen through the cracks. Running X11 apps on KubeVirt. It's largely meaningless to me. If that means something to you, if you could please respond to them on the mailing list. This one is from Brian saying that they're surprised CI migration. So if you do notice that there are any issues, please let Brian know. And this is also another potentially large topic which could do for an unconference session regarding changing our release schedule. This conversation is ongoing. Top view is, I think Eddie's asking for a bit more space in between. And the response from the release team is, why? We have 2 bugs. Oh yeah, so I think that's an important thing to talk about potentially during the unconference, or please jump onto the mailing list there. We've got 2 bugs to look at. Doseboard is here to help. Volume, excellent socket host on the VMI. Oh, Lee Chase jumped on it. Awesome, thank you, Lee Chase. And one last bug. Let's just see if it's had an answer. Please help me. This is running VM on kind of Mac OS. Yeah, about a year ago, the response, I think, was to run dev containers, but I don't know if that correlates with kind. Does anyone know?
Hi. There is already ongoing discussion in Slack. I'm speaking to this person, so this
Awesome.
is handled, kind of.
This is handled. Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted a quick shout out to Shelley and Federico for their flaky tests. I think universally it was about increasing the time to avoid other things beating into the punch. But they're there if you want to take a closer look and see if they solve any problems that you might be having. So we are at time. So I wanted to thank you all very much for being here and for being involved and for your interest in the design proposal process. Please join us next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. I've sent out a reminder email. All the details are there. Or if you have any questions, please reach out to the mailing list. Thanks a lot. I hope you have a great day and an even better weekend. See you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.